What's poppin' YouTube? Is your boy Loho Plays. We are back for the PBO weekly reviews for the Kalos Conference. For this first week, I will be taking over all the weekly reviews, and yes, it is very late. I do apologize for that. These are supposed to probably come out like a week ago, but I've been very busy, so I do apologize for that. But if you don't know, the PBO is a Pokemon battle organization, a Pokemon draft style league played on Pokemon Showdown, and of course we're going over the Kalos division. Sorry, not Kalos Division, Kalos Conference, which is technically the more inexperienced players, but still a lot of them are very, very good. So we're going to be going over their games as well as reviewing them, as well as for the Unova Conference. I will be linking the videos for the weekly review for that. We also have our own personal Unova match for the PBO, so make sure to check that out too on our channel. But the Pittsburgh Scissors is doing the Unova Conference one. So if you are interested in the Unova Conference, watching those battles, I'll make sure to have that video linked in the description. But without further ado, make sure that you like and subscribe for more PBO content, and let's get right into it. So the first battle is against Tottenham Hoothoots and the Santa Cruz Swadloons. Both these guys are mods, and also these guys came from season 3, so this is going to be a very, very interesting match. Obviously, wait, I have his wrong team. Oh my gosh, I have Helper's team from last season. Oh my gosh, I'm a goofball. Hold on, let me change that real quick. Let's see, is it not this one? Yeah, because I saw Los Angeles Pelipers, but obviously it's Hoothoots now. My bad. Increase that. Boom. Okay, now the teams are right. So, Tottenham. I'm gonna. It's early for me too. All right. So we're gonna switch. No, wait. We're gonna switch again. Wait. Oop. Yes. Aha. Wait. But then the logos are messed up. Oh my gosh, I hate myself. Okay. You guys see nothing. Just some live editing. You guys see nothing. Okay, here we go. Now everything is set up correctly. Tottenham Hoothoots have the team roster in the top right. Santa Cruz Swadloons have the team roster in the bottom right. Tottenham Hoothoots decided to bring Slowking, Galar, Rotom, Wash, Greninja, Sableye, Torterra as their Tera Captain 2, going to be very powerful Shell Smash options, and then Iron Treads, while Santa Cruz deciding to bring Como, Empoleon. Empoleon's also their Tera Captain. Weezing Galar, Hoopa Unbound, very powerful Pokemon, Weavile, and Fletchinder. So let's get right into the battle. Turn 1, we're going to see leads of Rotom, Wash into Empoleon. Obviously, this is a very free Volt Switch here, but Empoleon can decide whether they want to switch personally or whether they want to Stealth Rock. Also, from the beginning of this match, Santa Cruz has no Volt Switch immunity, so also Rotom is pretty powerful for this match just for that. Rotom actually goes straight away for the Thunderbolt, also gets the Para. 43% is really not that much. It looks like it might be some sort of defensive Rotom. Not entirely sure though. Empoleon does decide to go for Rocks, as Hoopa Unbound comes in on the Volt Switch. Great Volt Switch there, because otherwise Empoleon's taking a lot of damage and you do get a lot of switch initiative. Greninja comes out, obviously threatening Hoopa Unbound with just a simple U-turn, as Hoopa can't even live a U-turn because it's 4 times effective, and it's a Greninja protein. So U-turn coming out, gonna hit the Weezing, as well as Greninja's actually gonna take some Life Orb chip. Slowking Galar comes out. You do see that the Weezing is Black Sludge, as well as it was Levitate. So Slowking Galar coming out on a balloon, and going for the Toxic Spikes actually, because the Weezing is Levitate, as it showed. I think when it came in it said that it was levitating or something like that. But basically, Toxic Spikes are actually pretty good here because the Weezing Galar is Levitate, I think, for the treads. So I'm not entirely sure though. Another T-Spike coming up for the Slowking Galar as Empoleon goes for the Surf to break the air balloon. Might be actually pretty useful for Como later on, I assume. But also, yeah, breaking the air balloon probably just for Como and Earthquake in the end game. Rotom Wash coming out on the Slowking, that's also fine. Chilly Reception also would have been good if they do have it, but maybe they're not running it. Empoleon getting paralyzed there is very, very unfortunate, as Rotom's going to go for another Thunderbolt. Empoleon taking on a decent amount of damage, but Empoleon actually getting the switch initiative this time. It's actually a very good move to go for, because if Rotom decides to Volt Switch, then you flip turn and get some initiative of your own. Now we see Weezing Galar coming out. It is Levitate because it did not get rid of the Toxic Spikes. So because of that, I believe Weezing is probably going to go for a Defog here. So Slowking is going to come out, probably try to threaten this with a Psychic type move, as well as setting up more T-Spikes. Hoopa Unbound coming out, as Slowking goes for the Sludge Bomb. Very good prediction there. And now we see Hoopa actually go for Dark Pulse, and it does huge damage to Rotom Wash. This is definitely a choice specs Hoopa, as well as if this Rotom is, you know, uninvested in speed, then this Hoopa will outspeed the following turn. And Rotom protects, try to get off a little bit of recovery, try to see if this thing is choiced at all. But yes, at this point it's definitely choice specs, because that's doing huge damage. Greninja coming out, obviously threatening Hoopa with a U-turn, but Hoopa is pretty powerful Pokemon, so you know, you do want to keep it. It can hit really hard, as you can see with that choice spec. So goes actually into Weavile, takes a lot from Weavile, almost dies, 5%. Torterra comes in, Weezing Galar comes out. Torterra goes for the Terrifier Shell Smash. It is Mental Herb as well, which works really well, because if Weavile was knocked off, it's going to do less damage. Weezing Galar is out though, and it is able to take a Tera Blast. 52% is still a lot, but we actually see Clear Smog on Weezing. That's a great bring to reset Torterra's stats. Now Weezing doesn't have too much to worry about, as long as it tries to maintain its health. Iron Tread's coming out with Cork Drive Speed. Great play, because Weezing obviously has to go for Clear Smog there, because if Torterra Shell Smashed again, then it obviously picks up the kill. So Legendary comes out on the Iron Treads. Iron Head, Flame Body proc is a no-go. Actually forces the Treads out. Very interesting, but a great switch for PBO Joe, or aka Trainer Black, because, you know, most likely Will-O-Wisp or some type of fire move is coming out, which Torterra is actually a great switch in for. So we actually see Tailwind on the Fletchender. Very good bring, and then a double into Slowking on the Torterra, obviously predicting Weezing. But we actually see a U-turn on the Fletchender. Out comes Hoopa Unbound to pick up another kill with Dark Pulse. And Iron Treads is not going to be able to take that. Yeah, that Dark Pulse does heavy damage. Ninja comes out this time. Actually, Dark Pulse almost picking up the KO. Wait, is this Scarf, not Specs? How did this outspeed a Greninja? That's crazy. Must have been Scarf. 80 something percent one-shotting a Treads and doing that much to Rotom Wash is insane for it not even to be Specs. Greninja actually diving into his Life Orb too. Tailwind does peter out. Como comes out on the Sableye. We see a double into Empoleon, scouting to see if it's Will-O-Wisp or what type of shenanigans it has. It is Thunder Wave. So we're going to see Empoleon stick in here with Sableye, as Flip Turn comes out. Great play by the Empoleons there. Empoleon, Santa Cruz, Swadloons. Como comes out. Obviously an EQ comes out, is going to do a lot of damage to Slowking. Sableye then comes in to take a little bit less damage, but it's actually sub Como. The Earthquake, sub Dragon Dance. Probably another Dragon type move. Nightshade is able to take out the sub. That's really great though. T-Wave does come out onto the Como. Ooh, first turn paralysis. Very bad. Another Dragon Dance to essentially get rid of those speed boosts. Now we see a taunt come out from the Sableye. Nice play there, as Dragon Claw as their final move does 2-KO the Sableye. And at this point, it is not looking good for the Tottenham Hoothoots. We do see an Earthquake come out. I do believe Dragon Claw or Earthquake is totally fine, as long as Como can break through this paralysis. So we see Sableye go down. Slowking Galar is going to come in. Will die, unfortunately, to another Earthquake. And then Torterra is going to come in. So you would think that the game is over right here, but the first paralysis procs, meaning Torterra Shell Smashes. And then you're like, okay, well, does Torterra, you know, have a coverage move to kill Como here? Most likely it doesn't. Even if it's Earthquake, it probably doesn't kill, right? So Earthquake comes out 88%, so Como is alive, and then another paralysis. Insane. To kill the Como, Torterra picks it off with a Tera Blast, and now we have to figure out the combination to try to prevent this sweep, because obviously Weezing just dies to a Tera Blast. we saw earlier did like 52%. Empoleon dies to an earthquake. Weavile is very, very low. Might not kill with the knockoff, I'm not entirely sure. Tera Blast only doing 51% to a Fletchinder, so let's see what they can do. Tailwind's up. Could be pretty beneficial because maybe Wheezing... No, I don't think Wheezing would outspeed this, right? Unless it's like max speed, which I think this thing is most likely running max speed. But because of that Tailwind, it could be beneficial. We're going to see a Roost the following turn as Torterra Shell Smashes again. And I think at this point, it might be a reverse sweep for the Tottenham Hoothoots. Empoleon going to come out, does go for the Tera Water, but still dies to a Tera Blast. And then Wheezing Galar comes out, dies to a Tera Blast, and then finally Weavile, even though it has Ice Shard, only going to do 21%. So very rough end game there. It seems like there was a really good chance that Komodo just won there, but the 2 Paraprocs was definitely enough to just completely turn this battle upside down. So I do have a couple notes. I do think Santa Cruz should have won this one because of obviously it was just para hacks, and like to risk like double para there is horrible. And this is like the worst case scenario where it's like okay, I'm paralyzed, I can live 1 hit, but like literally what really could go wrong? And it's like, bro, somehow this went wrong. But also something that's interesting is Torterra must have been really slow because even after +2, this was neutral nature, and Como naturally outspeeds it, so maybe it was like had some speed investment. Kind of interesting because Como was paralyzed and it still outsped after 2 Dragon Dances, which is technically just normal speed, while the Torterra is ×2 speed. That's very interesting. So that must mean it might be slow Torterra, meaning maybe Wheezing could clear Smog. I mean, once the Tailwind is up with Fletchinder, your U-turn, and then potentially go into Wheezing. I don't know, we'll go through the steps though. Okay, so for the first couple turns, obviously I think, you know, I'm going to talk about these misplays, but also the players probably recognize their misplays, as well as all this criticism is meant to be positive. I do think a big misplay is hard switching Hoop Bound into the Weavile and getting hit with the U-turn. I think easily, you know, Empoleon just as a sack or potentially Wheezing here because you're going to take resisted U-turn damage is obviously a better play, as well as Empoleon. If Greninja like just doesn't, you know, Water Spam or Ice Beam is also pretty strong. So it's like if Greninja doesn't go for U-turn, then you have other options to take better hits with Empoleon, or potentially just get a U-turn hit into Wheezing. So I do think going hard into Weavile definitely puts Weavile in a bad position because it's taking so much damage. I think it might have been heavy duty boots, but I'm not entirely sure, but it definitely becomes a lot weaker that it can't live 1 hit from anything else. So that was definitely one mistake I think for the Santa Cruz. Turn 20, obviously here this is a rough sack for Tottenham Hoothoots to sack the Iron Treads here, but also there's really like no switch into Dark Pulse. I think Sableye was defensive, so there's like, yeah, there's really like no way that Sableye was going to take that Dark Pulse, so I think something had to be sacked here. And again, turn 33, 34, these para hacks basically won Tottenham the game, but then it's trying to figure out potentially how Santa Cruz could have won this after Como goes down here. So we go Fletchinder. We have some options, right? So depending on this Torterra's speed, which we saw before, if you see here, wait, the Torterra was faster. Was the Torterra faster? Before the Shell Smash it was. Okay. Oof, it may not have outsped them with Weavile. Okay, so based on this, we can't go Weavile hard, right? So we do go Fletchinder, right? I think potentially, I don't know what the damage roll is. If you have another move, I think it's Tailwind, U-turn, Roost, and some other move. Depending what the other move is, I think you potentially... It's a hard combination to think of because I think you do go for Tailwind here. You Tailwind, then you U-turn. Instead of Roosting, I think you definitely U-turn because it looks like Obviously this Torterra is like, oh, this guy has nothing for me, I might as well Shell Smash again. But with Tailwind up, I mean, are you faster? No, but you... Okay. I think this following turn you Roost. Yeah, I think you U-turn. Because with Tailwind up, I don't know, but ×3 Torterra, but then ×2 Weavile, it might be close. Because if you can U-turn out when he Shell Smashes, but obviously you might not know that he's Shell Smashing, but I think it's pretty acceptable to understand that he would Shell Smash there. Because Tera Blast doing only 51%. I think you U-turn potentially, and then go hard into Weavile, and then, but then I don't even know if knockoff kills. But maybe with like U-turn chip plus knockoff, it might kill. But then you also have to outspeed. It's very hard to figure out this endgame. I think this is like the only option. Because I think as soon as you go Empoleon, you basically lose all your chances because all these guys are dying anyway, right? So I think your best way is to go Weavile. You already understand that the Ice Shard doesn't kill. So here you have to go Weavile and go for a knockoff and just pray that you put enough speed investment in under Tailwind to outspeed Torterra. I think that's the only option. But, overall no major misplays for this game, just pretty much HAX. So it's kind of rough to see for the first game. But overall, very well played to both these players. GG's, and let's move on to the next one. Alright, next up we have the Luscious Lopunnies with the team roster in the top right versus the Tokyo Teddiursas with the team roster in the bottom right. Luscious Lopunnies deciding to bring Frostlass, Roaring Moon, Blissey, Cerulege, Shaman, and Corviknight, while the Tokyo Teddiursas bringing Hydreigon, Sylveon, Annihilate, Toedscruel, Frostmoth, and Paldea Tauros Aqua. Let's get right into the game. So, turn 1, Hydreigon into a Frostlass lead. A little bit scary for Hydreigon, so of course it is going to want to switch out. Frostmoth does come in, and a very beneficial Thunder Wave miss is pretty important here, as Frostmoth going for Terra Ground to prevent the Thunder Wave is actually huge. So we are going to see a Thunder Wave immunity as well as a Quiver Dance set up. And then we're going to see the following turn that Frostlass is actually physical. Insane, actually able to just completely one-shot the Frostmoth. I've never seen a physical Frostlass before. Very good prep there. Followed up by Tauros Paldea Aqua obviously comes in. Weakens this thing's attack, as well as another Thunder Wave coming out. Very unfortunate for the Paldea Tauros Aqua, but it is able to go for a Stone Edge. Of course, Frostlass is going to want to do what it does best. Going for Dusty Mons, so Frostlass picking up 2 KOs. Really great lead by that. Sylveon does come out, goes for Protect, but it just trying to scout to see what Shaman wants to do. But Shaman is actually a physical Swords Dance set, so Seed Bomb coming out going to do a decent chunk as Sylveon goes for a Moonblast, only does 34%. Protects back for some chip, but Shaman is going to capitalize on that and go for another Swords Dance. Great play by the Luscious Lopunnies, and this Seed Bomb is going to take them out. So next turn, Hydreigon comes in. Shaman does miss a Play Rough, meaning Hydreigon can try to go for some sweeping options. So it goes for Dragon Dance and then goes for Crunch. So this is looking a bit scary for the Luscious Lopunnies at this point. And we actually see Scale Shot as well. So Scale Shot almost picking up a 5-hit. Even though this Hydreigon is Life Orb, it was able to almost pick up a 5-hit and almost kill this thing, which is very shocking. Thunder Wave coming out and a miss on the Blissey is actually insane. So now we're going to see Hydreigon is actually going to be able to put in a lot of work here. Corviknight comes out. We are going to see a Fire Blast out to deal really good damage to the Corviknight. Corviknight is going to go for a Drill Peck. Decent damage, as well as Hydreigon can go for one more. So it looks like Hydreigon still has potential to deal one more finishing blow at this point. Cerulege going for Terra Grass as a Crunch is coming out. Crunch doing really good damage as we see a bulk upset on Cerulege. So the following turn, Cerulege is going to Shadow Sneak, and ultimately, it's still live for these last two Pokemon. So Annihilate does come out, it does take a Shadow Sneak, and then it goes for a U-turn, meaning it might be banded or choiced in some way. Toedscruel coming out, Roaring Moon coming in. Roaring Moon obviously going for a knockoff does kill the Toedscruel, and then finally Annihilate. Is it Choice Scarfed? It is not. It was Kova Berry, so that knockoff is not going to save it. So that is going to be a 1-0, very close match, actually. A lot of HAX misses that definitely put Tokyo back in this battle, but in the end, Luscious Lopunnies getting that win, a good 1-0. For my notes for this match, I did want to acknowledge that the Frostlass had a very good tech. Turn 3, physical Frostlass is not bad specifically for this situation, as well as Toad Squirrel is ever in. Icicle Crash obviously does more damage. I do think for turn 7, or early on, this Tauros Paldea into Frostlass play is obviously a bit scary, because this thing is obviously extremely fast, and you know, whittling down the Tauros Paldea Aqua is obviously not great, because you want Tauros Paldea Aqua in the end game for Roaring Moon. It's also really good for Blissey. It's not bad for Ceruledge either. Obviously going down to Parahax as well as Destiny Bond is not great for sure, so potentially switching here or finding other solutions to taking on Frostlass. I think Sylveon would have been like an okay play, because you can just like kind of whittle it down even though you take a Thunder Wave. You know, Icicle Crash, again, it's physical Frostlass, but still should not be doing that much damage. So Frostlass picking up 2 kills early on is really what brought this game into a major advantage for Luscious Lopunnies. Also great double Swords Dance on the Protect for the Sylveon that really put Shaman in a position to just sweep the rest. Also looking for Hydreigons going to its outs. Obviously Shaman having Play Rough is really good coverage, but also in terms of the Hydreigon set, you don't know what they might have for you. So potentially you do live 1 Seed Bomb, so Dragon Dancing here is also not a bad play. Turn 12, I do think instead of going Blissey, I do think potentially Corviknight might be better here, because you know, you obviously live the physical hits, but obviously you have to deal with Fire Blast, as well as potentially it could lead into like maybe you Fire Blast switch into Blissey. I'm not entirely sure, and then Blissey can get off the T-Wave like that. Versus this, I think like this isn't bad, but obviously Corviknight wins the 1v1 against Hydreigon as long as it's taking Life Orb Chip and you're Drill Pecking it, right? But in this scenario, obviously, well, this is like a niche scenario because ultimately this T-Wave should have landed, right? But me personally, I probably would have gone Corviknight, but maybe me personally, I would have lost this game. So still not a bad play to go Blissey. I also think potentially going for Scale Shot there is a little bit risky, but also maybe you need plus, I don't think you need +2 speed for anything, but maybe they were predicting to get Thunder Waved. So potentially they wanted to Scale Shot into Scale Shot so that they still have enough speed to outspeed everything. So I do understand that. Fire Blast, great bring for Hydreigon. Yeah, really close end game. I mean, if this Annihilate was like Scarfed, you know, obviously Scarf CC and then might just pick up the KO for Roaring Moon. So, and it looked like Roaring Moon might have been either Scarfed or banned of its own. I'm not entirely sure, but overall, a lot more hacks this week. T-Wave misses, move misses galore. Seems like Lopunnies didn't have an advantage for most of the match. For Roaring Moon in the back, you have to have some options. I think Sylveon, most likely Sylveon and Tauros Paldea were your main checks for Roaring Moon, but obviously when those Pokemon died early, then obviously led Luscious Lopunnies to have a great endgame to just sweep things with Roaring Moon. So again, all of this meant to be like positive criticism, but yeah, GG's to both these players, and let's move on to the next one. All right, next up we have the Caborca Gengars against the Toronto Staraptors. The Caborca Gengars have the team roster in the top right, while the Toronto Staraptors have the team roster in the bottom right. So the Caborca Gengars decided to bring Ninetales, an Amorous Tea, Great Tusk, Crocalor, Gengar, and Shiftry, while Toronto Staraptors deciding to bring Vaporeon, Tinkaton, Hawlucha, Propass, Cyclizar, and Munkidori. So let's get right into the battle. We're going to see a lead off into Propass, into the Crocalor, and we see a very interesting set here on the Crocalor, actually Fire Spin, Terra Water, as we see a Power Gem come out from Propass. Fire Spin, actually Tera Fairy on the Probopass, so it takes potentially less damage off of Tera Blast. We actually see Yawn as well as on the Crocolore. So Yawn Fire Spin is able to get off decent damage as well as basically trap and whittle Probopass down. But Power Gem is still doing a lot of damage, so Crocolore is kind of forced to slack off here. So Crocolore, trying to stay up at full HP, is dwindling down Probopass with Flamethrower as well as Fire Spin. But an early turn wake, I think that was only one turn of sleep, Probopass does get off, meaning it's going to get off more chip, as well as the Fire Spin is now gone. So Probopass does switch out. So does Crocolore though into Great Tusk, and then we see Great Tusk into Vaporeon. So obviously Vaporeon can at least take one hit. So Ninetales is the switch in, and then we see Ninetales was not Drought, which is very, very unfortunate. Vaporeon goes for Wish. It was a mistake on the Caborca Gengar's fault, but yeah, we're gonna see a Wish and a Baton Pass for the Ninetales as Vaporeon goes for a Flip Turn. Great for Vaporeon this generation, at least with the DLC, does now get Flip Turn instead of Baton Pass. Really nice for Wish Initiative, but as you can see, wishing into Probopass is now up to full. It is now a great wall to deal with Shiftry. We're gonna see a switch into Gengar. It's gonna take honestly really good chip. 40% is nothing to laugh at. Tinkaton comes out on the Gengar, takes a decent Shadow Ball with that special defense drop. It still won't pick up the KO, but it will do a lot more damage as they do switch out into Enamor's Tea. Knocks off the Big Root. Obviously some cool tech there, probably Draining Kiss Big Root. Try to gain back as much HP as possible. Monkey Dory is the switch as Enamor's Tea decides to go for the agility. So does it have a move? Looks like Monkey Dory is Scarfed depending on what the speed tier of Enamor's Tea is, or whatever it's hitting on Investment times 2. So Monkey Dory looks like it might be Scarfed, and actually able to pick up that Sludge Wave KO is really strong because Enamor's Tea has really great defenses. I think Monkey Dory is like 125 special attack or 130, so makes sense, but man, that thing hit like a truck. Gengar does come out on the Monkey Dory, does force it out, and comes Cyclizar. Great prediction for the Caborca Gengars to Dazzling Gleam, get off extra damage there, and able to pick off the Cyclizar. Tinkaton does come out, is able to take a hit as, oh my god, ads, oh my god, not like this. Not like this. Okay, I'm gonna have to remember to edit this out.
One-stop shop for music.
Alright, we're back from the ad break. We saw Tinkaton go for the knockoff on the Ninetales as it came in. It hits even Heat Rock, which is just even worse. We're going to see Probopass come in on Vaporeon's Encore, and then Ninetales is going to Baton Pass out into Crocolore. It is going to take that Earth Power damage, and then the following turn Vaporeon comes out as Crocolore goes for a Slack Off. And now we see a switch from Crocolore into Shiftry as Vaporeon goes for a Protect, probably to Scout, as Shiftry goes for a Growth, but Hawlucha comes in and does Encore. Really cool tech there. Shiftry is going to be Encored into Growth, meaning it doesn't need to switch out, and Gengar is going to come in, but actually on the CC, so it doesn't take any damage. And then Vaporeon comes out, is going to be able to take that Shadow Ball very, very comfortably. So Gengar does switch out into Ninetales as Vaporeon unfortunately does miss a Hydro Pump, which would have done a lot of damage. So Ninetales is going to Baton Pass out into Shiftry as Vaporeon gets off another Wish back into Hawlucha, meaning it can take any hit. It's actually Air slash Shiftry, which is quite insane. So that Wish is going to bring Hawlucha back up to full health. Swords Dance comes out, pops it to 50%. And then we actually see Acrobatics on Hawlucha, but we didn't see the item proc, I don't think. No, we did not, so I'm very interested to see what the item still could be. Yawn comes out on Crocolore as Vaporeon comes in. Obviously, Flip Turn here is very free. Crocolore going for a Slack Off, and then we see Psychic doing 39%, but Toxic Chain activating is actually huge. Of course, we know that Monkey Dory at this point is Scarfed, so eventually we're going to see a switch here, but Crocolore staying in again. Goes for the Psychic. It's going to do a lot of damage, and yeah, that Toxic is badly poisoned, meaning that it's going to win the Slack Off war. So we finally see the switch into Shiftry. So obviously now that Crocolore is out, Monkey Dory is not Fire Spin trapped. So we see a double into Probopass, and then we see another double, really great double here into Gengar. Gengar, obviously, even with the Sludge Bomb, is unable to pick out Probopass. Very good option to just stay in there with Probopass. Obviously, Probopass very bulky, can live any hit, and getting rid of the Gengar can be very beneficial. So now we see Great Tusk come in which Vaporeon is going to come in. It's actually smack down Great Tusk. Caborca was absolutely cooking for this fight, as we see a switch out from Great Tusk into Shiftry. Gonna take a Hydro Pump, does a decent chip. Turns out Shiftry is actually leftovers, which is quite interesting. Vaporeon going for a Wish as well. Coming back in on Munkidori, very great play, because now Munkidori will be back up to full, meaning that's guaranteed to live multiple hits. So now this is quite the free sludge wave, but they do decide to go for a Parting Shot. Not a bad play at all. We're going to see Great Tusk take that Parting Shot and then switch out into Ninetales as Vaporeon is in. Another Wish coming out, meaning they probably want to get someone in, but they do decide to stay in which Ninetales does punish that with an Encore. So now they hard switch into Munkidori. And we actually see Great Tusk stay in. Munkidori is scarfed and, you know, one-shots things with a Psychic. So now we obviously know it's scarfed now, so Shiftry comes in. Vaporeon comes out actually on the Shiftry as Shiftry goes for a growth, but it has shown Giga Drain already, but maybe Vaporeon can easily live it. So Vaporeon does go for a Wish, and maybe we will see a switch into, oh, not Hawlucha, because obviously Air Slash at this point would kill. Yep, which is what Shiftry was predicting for. So Tinkaton obviously being in here, I believe can 1v1 Shiftry, but it does show Heat Wave, so 56% is actually a lot of damage. So will this Shiftry be able to come back? Goes for the Giga Drain, so now Munkidori is in. This thing definitely outspeeds. With the Great Tusk gone, especially, that means Sludge Wave is especially free. So Sludge Wave will 2-hit KO and kill the Ninetales, and then effectively all we have to worry about is Crocalor in the end. So Crocalor going for the Yawn, and it does die to Poison there. And then Shiftry coming back out. But Munkidori will always outspeed this thing, so it will die to a Sludge Wave. I wonder if Sucker Punch had a chance to kill. Oh no, we already saw all 4 moves. Okay, cool. So that will be a 5-0 victory for the Toronto Staraptors. GG to both these opponents. I do want to go over just some key turns in the battle. Obviously, Ninetales not having Drought really played a giant crucial role in this battle. Specifically, Crocalors, Fire Spin, Flamethrowers would have been doing a lot more. Obviously, Great Tusk in the Sun would have been a lot more scary to activate the Photosynthesis boost. Shiftry's Chlorophyll would have been extremely powerful, especially with Growth. So there was a lot, just because Ninetales was not Drought, even, and it literally was Heat Rock, would have made this game play like 100 times different. So definitely a mistake on the prep there. Turn 14 here, when Munkidori had to switch out on the Gengar, I do think a safer switch would have been Tinkaton instead of going, because you resist, I mean, you're immune to the Steel type or the Poison type move, and obviously Tinkaton is actually very wally, especially defensively, so you can obviously take a Shadow Ball as we saw earlier, as long as there's no Spadef drop. Would have been a nice play there too. But just because Cyclizar is actually pretty fast and it has a lot of uses, but obviously it looks like your opponent isn't bringing much hazards anyway, but I do like just Cyclizar's overall speed here for this matchup. Also, if it does have knockoff, like it looks like this Gengar Scarf based on this too. But 20, so turn 20 here. Missed opportunity for Toronto to go for flip turn. Obviously, this previous turn of going Vaporeon in on Crocalor as Crocalor slacks off. This is just a very free flip turn, because even if they fire spin you, you just flip turn out. If they go for a slack off, then you can kind of just reposition into what you want, which none of your guys are actually weak at the moment. So potentially you could go into your Tinkaton. Oh no, you wouldn't want to go into your Tinkaton because you'll get trapped. But this was basically a free flip turn, or potentially even a Wish here. Protect is definitely not useful at all. Turn 23. I do think Flying Move is always better here to take down Shiftry. I know you're not in Unburden range, but at this point when you have the Shiftry Encored, it is very likely that they're going to switch out. I do think that their better play probably would have been Crocalor, but potentially because it's actually kind of a scary prediction for Caborca to make the Gengar play, because you do not take a Brave Bird very well. So But it does end up being acrobatics, but I do think acrobatics is a little bit safer here because at least you get some chip on the Crocodile, and then the following turn you potentially have chances to close combat it, or you can just switch out. Like Crocodile is really not that threatening because we've already seen its entire set. And then turn 36, I just want to acknowledge Caborca's great double here as let's see, Monkey Dory obviously has to switch. This is locked into Psychic, and a great prediction for the Caborca to bring in Gengar, excuse me, on the Probopass, because it could have even also been Tinkaton there, because Shiftry hadn't shown Heat Wave yet. So very good double there. But yeah, overall, if Ninetales was Drought, this would have been a significantly different game. But of course, GG's to both players, they both played well. So yep, without further ado, let's move on to the next one. Alright, next up we have the Delaware Dusknoirs against the Pennsylvania Pyroars. So, Pennsylvania Pyroars currently have the team roster in the top right, while the Delaware Dusknoirs have the team roster in the bottom right. The Pennsylvania Pyroars deciding to bring Torkoal, Walking Wake, Ursaluna, Knackle, Stack. I think that's how you say it. Kilowattrel, and Doshbun, while Delaware Dusknoirs decided to bring Hatterene, Kleavor, Milotic, Ogerpon, Hearthflame, Orthworm, and Electrode. So let's get right into the battle. As a lead, we see Kleavor into Torkoal, immediately setting up the Sun. Kleavor is going to go for a U-turn, get a little bit of chip damage. As they go hard, Hatterene, Torkoal does go for Stealth Rock, so all those hazards get bounced right back, and then Torkoal even tries to go for a Yawn, but Magic Bounce does bounce that back as well. So now we're going to see a Baton Pass here by Hatterene back out into Kleavor, as Torkoal is going to switch out, takes the hazard damage as well as another U-turn by Kleavor. Out comes Ogerpon Hearthflame, which really does enjoy the Sun here, honestly, but Power Whip is just going to straight up take out that little Garganackle mini, as Walking Wake comes in, Photosynthesis boosted, speed, out comes Melodic to take the hit. Draco Meteor doing 55, that's a lot of damage. But Milotic is able to take it and recover up the following turn, and comes in Doshbun for the Walking Wake. 3 more turns of Sun up, as we see Doshbun actually going for a Yawn, but Melodic actually has Flip Turn. Flip turns out back into Hatterene. Interested to see what's going to happen here. Doshbun going for Protect, obviously to Scout. Hatterene trying to hit Doshbun on its weaker special defensive side, so it's trying to get as much damage as possible. Doshbun going for a Play Rough as Hatterene goes for a Baton Pass onto Ogerpon Hearthflame, and now Ogerpon Hearthflame, you know, is no joke. It will do a lot of damage to this Doshbun, even if it's defensive. We actually see Tera Fairy Doshbun here. 52% on the Doshbun does go for Play Rough. It is resisted hit, meaning this power up is very close to 2-hit KOing, but Doshbun is going to go for a Protect. So ultimately, Ogerpon is taking more and more damage here, which it doesn't want to see, as well as Doshbun being Wish. Out comes Milotic now, as, oh my god, more ads. Alright, my bad, y'all. That's another thing I gotta edit, but YouTube ads are really coming from my life right now. Doshbun going for the Yawn on Milotic, as Milotic tries to hit it again. On the special side, going for Hydro Pump. A lot of damage there, honestly. Out comes Hatterene, obviously, because you don't want your Milotic to fall asleep. Doshbun going for Protect. Doshbun again going for a Wish, and now we see Nuzzle on Hatterene. Obviously that might be a way of dealing with this Doshbun, because it seems like there's not a very effective way to deal with this thing right now. So Protect, Wish, all that shenanigans are coming out. Doshbun ultimately gonna get basically back up to full, and out comes Torkoal, takes the Stealth Rock damage, which is not great, as well as the Psychic is gonna go ahead and drop that Torkoal. Now, the Pennsylvania Pyroars need to be placing on some offense. Ursaluna comes out to do some damage. Obviously, Gunk Shot is not going to hit that. So Gunk Shot was their highest damaging move there. There's the trying to take out the Hatterene, but Earthworm is a great check to Ursaluna because of its Earth Eater ability. It doesn't seem to be Guts Facade Ursaluna. Earthquake obviously coming off Earth Eater does prevent that. So now we are going to see Iron Defense being set up by the Earthworm. Guts Ursaluna does have close combat, but it does no damage, especially after those Iron Defense boosts. So at this point, it seems like Earthworm can kind of just body press everything for free. A hard switch and a walking wing, trying to catch that final turn of trying to iron defense. But it does go for body press. So now walking wake is dead. Ursaluna comes out. Not sure why it just came out just to switch again. But yeah, Dashman's still going to take a lot from that body press. And we're going to see another body press plus the paralysis really play a role here. So we are going to see that body press really matter. Kilowattrel also coming out, still going to take a lot from that body press, and it does die. And I believe at this point of the game, this is officially a forfeit, but not officially a forfeit. This is basically a 6-0 because in this position, Earthworm body presses the last two and just wins. Wish Protect does not save Dashbun in this manner because, yeah, they can just keep spamming body press and eventually run out of wishes. You can even double into Electrode, start throwing off Electric type moves. Basically, like, Dashbun comes in, you can just basically go hard Electrode if you want, just start throwing out Thunderbolts, and if anytime Ursaluna comes in, you just go back out to Earthworm. Earthworm hard counters this Ursaluna set, basically. Especially even after a close combat, it will live, and then Earthworm body press will just kill you. But yeah, basically at this point, it is a 6-0. There was just some disconnecting issues for the Pennsylvania Pyroars, but this is going to be a 6-0 for the Delaware Dusknoirs this week. GG's to both these players. I do have some notes. Basically for matchup leads, turn 1 and 2, I really like to play for the Cleavors to just the Cleavor going for the U-turn, bring out Hat. Something that I think Pennsylvania Pyroars definitely need to understand is Hatterina's magic bounce is just a great lead into Torkoal, because effectively you're not really taking that much damage if it's Lava Plume, whatever it is. Obviously you prevent Stealth Rock, you prevent Yawn. So this was basically a really good switch for Delaware here, and these rocks are basically, yeah, they're permanent unless you have Rapid Spin here. Which I can't remember by the end of this if Torkoal had Rapid Spin. I do think turn 2, obviously you didn't know that Yawn was going to bounce back, but honestly Rapid Spinning here is not bad for you as a Torkoal. But you will take a lot from Psychic if you stay in, so I understand. But Yawn is never the play here. It's always to switch or to Rapid Spin. But also you don't have the greatest switch-ins into just special attackers. So I do understand that. But yeah, this Yawn was definitely a major misplay. Hatterene, see, even Delaware Dusknoirs predicting a switch there, but I think even for Delaware Dusknoirs, Psychic is extremely free to just try to take out the Torkoal, because again, Torkoal can't do anything to you. And I think in this position, your opponent does not have very good special walls. So I think for you, you really, instead of trying to make a baton pass switch, you just spam Psychic at this point and then wait for them to take all the damage. U-turn. So also Ogerpon Hearthflame. It looks like Dashbun was able to take, maybe not after Rocks though, because it took like 52 later on. So yeah, no, but you have Protect. So Dashbun can come in here instead of stacking the Knackle stack, because you can come in on Dashbun, it's going to take Rocks, it's going to take 50%, but then you have Leftovers Recovery, and then you have Protects, which I think puts you barely above, so it's going to, take 12% plus 50, that's going to be 62, so you're going to be at 38? Oof, 38 is not great, and then you basically gain back 12, so you're at 50. It's a roll to kill you. I was thinking that potentially a switch here into Dashbun would be nice, but yeah, Ogerpon Hearthflame looking very, very powerful here. I think if Torkoal, well, Torkoal's not heavy duty boots, but I assume it takes a Power Whip. I don't think it dies in 2. I think this is like the only Pokemon that doesn't die in 2 right now. So potentially Torkoal could have been a switch there, but it is really scary. Turn 21, obviously, also here, this Yawn, Protect, Play Rough. If you're Tera Fairy, especially on Dashbun, there's no reason not to immediately go for it when you're trying to deal damage to Hatterene, because your typing isn't changing at all. So you should always, I think there was a turn when you went for damage on Hatterene, you should always just straight up just go ahead and Tera there. But yeah, Power Whip, blah blah blah. This Wish Protect set, like, it was decent, but obviously it's extremely passive and you're not really doing any damage because you're just yawning things and then things are switching out. Yeah, Earth Eater moment with the Ursaluna. Definitely have to, I mean, with these new Mons in, you definitely have to know some of these niche abilities because it's very easy to forget about them. Turn 23, obviously this switch into Walking Wake. At this point, it's aggressive, but it's far too late. I would have liked to seen it at least a turn before, knowing that Earthworm basically counters you. Because then, you know, Walking Wake and the Sun probably has decent chances of killing Earthworm. But definitely at this point, it's too far gone. I think it's a great play for Delaware to just go ahead and go for Body Press because you don't need +4 defense at this point. And I think that's pretty much it. Obviously, there was an early DC, but Earthworm just wins from there. Definitely, there were some major misplays by Pennsylvania that caused a snowballing effect into a loss. Also, whenever you're down a lot, you need to play a lot more aggressively. But I think just like matchup wise, there are not a lot of great special walls here. Especially once you get up the Sun, you kind of need to be the one threatening everything. So yeah, bringing out the Sun, trying to get Walking Wake as much as you can, or trying to bring out your, you know, really powerful threats and try to wall break early. But obviously Ursaluna is walled by Earthworm. I would have liked to seen, honestly, Kilowattrel come out because that thing is pretty powerful in this team. You can see, you know, flying move, electric move, flying move, even electric move isn't bad here because Earthworm not being special defensive, Volt Switch will do a lot. So I would have liked to seen Kilowattrel in this matchup do a lot more, but yeah, GG's to both players, and let's move on to the next one. All right, next up we have the Ottawa Donphans against the New Jersey Dracos. The New Jersey Dracos have the team roster in the top right. Ottawa Donphans have the team roster in the bottom right. New Jersey Dracos decided to bring Dragapult, Enamorus, Serena, Tornadus T, Slowking, and Crocodile. Obviously has a very powerful Regenerator core. The Ottawa Donphans decided to bring Jirachi, Donphan, Azumarill, Dusclops, and Dipplin and Rotom Heat. So let's get right into it. Donphan into the lead as Crocodile is the opposite lead. Intimidate as well as Taunt coming out here for the Crocodile. Very, very good to prevent the Stealth Rocks here. Gonna switch actually into Dusclops first. That Crook is leftovers as Stealth Rocks go off for Crook. That knockoff is going to be huge for getting rid of that Eviolite as Dusclops throws off a Trick Room and shows that it actually has Leech Life, which is a very niche move, but it doesn't even seem to be doing that much damage as Dipplin comes out on the Crocodile's knockoff again. Again, dropping that Eviolite is going to be huge for Dipplin, taking a lot more damage. We are going to see Crocodile switch out as Serena comes in. It does take a Giga Drain. 20% is still quite a bit of damage. We're going to see Tera Steel on Dipplin, goes for the Infestation, gets damaged by the Rocky Helmet, as well as Serena actually goes for the U-turn, preventing any infestation stuff. An Enamorus T comes out, Donphan comes in on the substitute by the Enamorus T, very interesting. So Donphan might be taking a very powerful hit here. It is actually sub superpower. Enamorus getting off that superpower will prevent any sub from being broken by that rapid spin. We're going to see a switch into Dusclops to predict the superpower. Great move. We also see that the Babiri Berry is on the Enamorus as well, obviously for the Jirachi. We are going to see a Volt Switch come out for the Enamorus T, is able to get rid of the sub as another superpower comes out. Azumarill is a great switch in there, but it is still weak to Enamorus's moves, so it will die to a player off. And now Rotom Heat is in, and this Enamorus is obviously scared, but it does take a Volt Switch and just dies. So really great for the Ottawa Donphans to get rid of the Enamorus there. Crocodile comes in, intimidates the Donphan as well, taunts as well to prevent Stealth Rock. Great prediction for the Ottawa Donphans to just go hard for the Ice Spinner. Does great damage even after that Intimidate. Now we're going to see a switch into Slowking as a double from the Ottawa Donphans into the Jirachi slot. U-turn doing almost half is insane. It's Life Orb Jirachi. Dipplin comes out, is going to catch a Yawn. The Slowking is going to actually go for the Trick as the Rotom Heat comes in. Trick's a lagging tail while Rotom was a Scarfer. I think I should have acknowledged that earlier because obviously Enamorus was not as fast as it. But we are going to see the chilly reception into the Dragapult, as Dragapult is going to go for a Will-O-Wisp on the Dipplin. So Dipplin, ooh, tries to go for a Draco, but Dragapult is actually Phantom Force. Crazy. So Phantom Force is going to pick up the kill on the Dipplin, as the Ottawa Donphan comes in. Missed a Will-O-Wisp, but actually sets up the Stealth Rocks. Okay. Dragapult now gonna go for what? Will-O-Wisp again, so they go hard into the Rotom Heat. They go for the Phantom Force, Rotom Heat trying to stay in, try to go for the Dark Pulse. Phantom Force comes out, does really decent damage, honestly, 65. Another Dark Pulse coming in. Now we're going to see a very good switch by the Ottawa Donphans from Rotom Heat into the Donphan, predicting the Phantom Force. So now that Donphan is slower, it can go for the Ice Spinner and actually pick up the KO, as Phantom Force does no damage whatsoever. So very good sequence of plays by the Ottawa Donphans there. Slowking does come in. It's a great way of countering these last few Pokemon. Surf is going to come in and do a lot of damage and take out Rotom Heat. Jirachi does come in. We're going to actually see a switch into Tornadus T, as Jirachi was flinch fishing there. It's an Iron Head crit to take down the Tornadus T. Slowking comes in. Iron Head flinch could potentially save this game, to be honest. Yawn is also potential for Jirachi to fall asleep, but of course Jirachi still has U-turn, so the U-turn, even after the Intimidate, is going to whittle this thing down. It's actually becoming a lot closer of a match than we all thought. Slowking comes out, obviously gonna take out this Donphan, unfortunately, with a Surf, but Jirachi is in. There's potential for flinch hacks here, as well as U-turn just doing straight up 47% is insane. Surf is gonna make it live. We're gonna see Serena come out. Obviously this thing does have Rocky Helmet, so it does die, and then the Rocky Helmet plus the Life Orb is gonna take out the Jirachi, but it was actually really close there in the end game. If Jirachi wasn't Life Orb, obviously it would have been doing a lot less damage, but could have been a lot more threatening, because flinch chances, effectively, there are some ways that Jirachi can win the 1v1 against Slowking there. I think overall this game was a lot closer than expected. I think the New Jersey Dracos had an incredible lead matchup. Early on had a lot of great plays, but then somehow the Ottawa Donphans really came back. So GG's to both players, a 1-0 victory for the New Jersey Dracos. I do have notes here. So turn 2. I do think switching out Donphan into Dusclops is a very rough switch, because Crocodile is known to have knockoff, and if I'm the Crook here, I'm obviously they're going for Stealth Rocks, or I'm knocking off. And just going hard into Dusclops, getting rid of your Eviolite is not great, because yes, you do live the hit, but knocking off your Eviolite is not great for this matchup at all. I would have much preferred to see a Azumarill come in, or potentially Dipplin. You will threaten out the Crook better that way, versus you losing your knockoff, or you losing your Eviolite early. And I do like the Trick Room play. I thought the Leech Life was kind of cool, but not really that powerful enough to really win this 1v1 interaction. But I do think it was a cool idea. But I don't think the tech is that great, because I think Leech Life is like 60 base, right? I think it is buffed slightly, but I don't think it's that great. Yeah, but losing Easy Life is not great. And then turn 5, again, I think instead of going Dipplin here, just going straight into Azumarill is a lot better. Because you don't get knocked off on your Dipplin, which Dipplin really wants to keep its Eviolite to make sure that it stays extremely bulky. I do really like the Infestation tech for the Dipplin on the Serena, but of course it's very common for Serenas to run U-turn, so the Infestation tech is not really great unless you potentially use it on Crook, but especially on Serena. Serena is very naturally used to running U-turn. Infestation is not great into basically all these mods except for potentially Crook, because, you know, Chilly Reception on Slowking, U-turn on Tornadus T, Dragapult obviously can U-turn as well, and Amorous is just beating you 1v1 either with Fairy Move, or if you Tera Steel, it showed Superpower this game, but yeah, Play Rough and Superpower can beat Tera Steel Dipplin, so I do not think that Infestation tech was the play. Turn 13 for the New Jersey Dracos. I think all this was fine, but I think turn 13. Also, some of these sacks were like, I mean, these sacks were necessary. Potentially, instead of sacking a Azumarill, though, maybe you sack Dipplin, because I think Dipplin at this point is just going to end up being a sack. So I think for the Ottawa Donphans, instead of sacking a decently healthy 74%, you know, Azumarill, you can sack Dipplin because it's quite slow and it already lost its. Oh, it wasn't even Eviolite. It was a Jetpack. Holy smokes! I didn't even realize it's not Eviolite. That's crazy. But yeah, I definitely think Dipplin is the sack there rather than Azumarill. And then here, I don't think, I mean, you already know that Rotom Heat is Scarfed. I think it's a lot better to either just sack your Crook outright rather than to sack Enamorus, because obviously this Enamorus is causing a lot of problems for your opponent's team. Obviously, you can start superpowering again on Donphan and you'll always win the 1v1. Ice Spinner will be doing a lot, but if you want, you can go for superpower and try racking up boosts like that. You'll at least be doing good damage. But I think Enamorus is just so fast that it's definitely worth keeping. Whereas Crocodile has kind of already played its role, got rid of Dipplin's potential Eviolite, got rid of Dusclops Eviolite. It can still be useful, but yeah, hard sacking here does not feel great whatsoever. You could even go Serena. Maybe Serena has even less uses. But I do think sacking Enamorus here was not the play, because I think it starts to give your opponents, you know, your Ottawa Donphans really was starting to come back later in this game. So yeah, I also said Enamorus is great for Dipplin, Donphan. Also, depending on Jirachi set, Jirachi could be a counter to Enamorus for Ottawa Donphans, but obviously they had the Babiri Berry to take at least one steel hit. Turn 19, this was a great Chili Reception play the following turn after they tricked the Lagging Tail and the Choice Scarf, because basically with Lagging Tail, if Rotom is, you know, staying in, it's gonna Volt Switch you. You're gonna have the priority of Chili Receptioning, and then you know that they're going for Volt Switch, right? Or if they hard switch, then you still get the Chili Reception off. So I also think the trick here potentially was a little bit not beneficial, because you tricked the Rotom Heat, a Lagging Tail, but also now your Slowking is very, very not great with the Choice Scarf. Was this like a predicted switch? Oh, it was a predicted switch. But even then, like, why would you switch your Lagging Tail onto a Dipplin? It's unnecessary. Because the whole point of the Lagging Tail is to prevent, you know, is to slow something down. So I don't think that trick was even that great in Dipplin's case. I think you just hard surf there. Because yeah, now that the Slowking is Choice Scarf, it's not great. And I think that was what was literally really limiting it in the end game. Turn 28. Excellent switches by the Donphans to predict the Phantom Force this turn and go hard, or not this turn, but this turn, going hard into the Donphan, predicting the Phantom Force, because then you kill Dragapult with Ice Spinner, and that is obviously the problem with Phantom Force as a set for the New Jersey Dracos. I think it's a little bit better if you run like Will-O-Wisp sub Phantom Force. Maybe that was a set, but yeah, there's a, you know, Phantom Force is not great specifically for this reason, but it was really great for Ottawa to recognize that they were going to go for Phantom Force and picks off this KO with Dragapult is actually crazy. It's really starting to get close at this point. Turn 30, this was all fine. I do think the Tornadus switch in is a little bit risky, especially since you have Serena in the back. I don't know how much it takes from a U-turn. Oh my god, another ad.
Right here on YouTube.
Ah, brother. This video gonna get copyrighted. Oh well. So yeah, potentially sacking something else, because I think Tornadus being so fast, it outspeeds both the other Mons. Hurricane will do big damage to Ottawa, to the Donphans, and then potentially you can keep Crook in the back. I don't think Crook will live a U-turn now though. it's definitely looking a bit scary now for this Jirachi set in the end, but I think this was a really risky. Obviously the crit mattered. I think it mattered, at least. I'm not entirely sure, but cycling toward T there felt really bad. Also this turn, I know Slowking is Scarf, but I think just spamming Surf here is the play. You already know that Jirachi has U-turn, so Yawn is effectively extremely useless. Because again, like, he's always going to U-turn here now that you yawned, and he's just going to U-turn, get off the damage on Slowking, and go Donphan. If you yawn again, he'll just switch back into Jirachi because he knows you're Scarfed. But yeah, this really ended up being a really close battle. Like, Ottawa Donphans, after making some like early misplays, really came back in the end game, and you know, New Jersey Dracos had a very good beginning and then finished out a little bit poorly, but was able to get off the W. But yeah, very close game. GG's to both these players. So without further ado, let's move on to the next one. All right, next up we have the Sin City Sableye with the team roster in the top right versus the Florida Flamigos with the team roster in the bottom right. Sin City Sableye deciding to bring Okidogi, Scizor, Typhlosion, Hisui, Grimmsnarl, Baxcalibur, and Masquerain, while the Florida Flamigos decided to bring Quaquavel, Ogerpon, Decidueye, Leafeon, Decidueye, Hisui, Leafeon, Cloth, and Raichu. So let's get right into the battle. As a lead, Cloth is the lead onto the Masquerain. Masquerain gets off the Intimidate, goes for Sticky Web, as Cloth goes for Stealth Rock. Masquerain then going for a Hydro Pump as Cloth goes for a Swords Dance, actually. So now we're going to see Hydro Pump does not take Cloth down to range, but unfortunate Stone Edge miss is going to matter. But then we see a Hydro miss, so it's actually kind of balanced. But Masquerain ends up being Focus Sash, so Cloth was going to go down here either way. But Masquerain, now that rocks are up, basically Masquerain is going to go down here. We see that Raichu is going to go for the Thunderbolt. Efflusion Hisui comes out. First the heavy duty boots onto the Raichu, and actually Eruption crit is going to take out Raichu as Quaquavel comes in. Heavy duty boots, obviously. Typhlosion Hisui must switch out on the water move. Grimmsnarl comes out, does take a lot of damage from the Aqua Step, but with the Reflect Up, Quaquavel obviously cannot break through Grimmsnarl as well as the rest of the team, but does decide to go for the knockoff as Grimmsnarl goes for a Spirit Break, does a lot of damage, and drops the special attack of the opponent. Leafeon does come in, takes a Spirit Break, effectively preventing any more damage. Grimmsnarl deciding to go for a Parting Shot into Baxcalibur. Wish Protect is not going to be enough for this Leafeon, as we see a Dragon Dance being set up by the Baxcalibur, especially behind the Reflect. This thing is a beast. We're going to see Icicle Sphere Loaded Dice come out for the Decidueye, and it is going to kill the Decidueye. Out comes Ogerpon Wellspring. Especially with the Sticky Web up and Bax having +1 speed, this thing is going to die as well. Obviously Loaded Dice. Quaquavel comes out, but it is half HP, so at this point it is dead too. Now we're going to see the last remnants of... oh, actually lived one hit. Aqua Step though? That's crazy. Okay, Ice Shard going to pick off Quaquavel, and then Leafeon comes in. It's literally everything heavy duty boots. Heavy duty boots, heavy duty boots. Obviously this couldn't be it, and then heavy duty boots, heavy duty boots. So 4 things had boots. That's crazy. So obviously this is a 5-0 victory for Sin City Sableyes. Pretty great game plan. I mean, getting up screens and then just going hard backs, because this team is extremely weak to backs. This is also like one of those things where, like, I really would say that, you know, that there are, like, let's see, heavy duty boots, obviously, for heavy duty boots users, and the Sticky Web might be nice. You know, it does prevent, like, Sticky Web options, etc. But definitely in the backs matchup, this squad really does not have anything except for Quaquavel, but even then it just gets smoked by Scale Shot as well. I think Bax didn't even have to run Dragon Dance. It probably could have been like Swords Dance, Scale Shot, and it would have been just as powerful. But I do want to say, I mean, I have notes, so let's go into the notes and then I'll say my final thoughts. Turn 7 I think was the only play that yeah, Eruption here, but obviously, like, for this Quaquavel and on the Grimmsnarl, as Grimmsnarl just weakens you, obviously Sin City Sableye recognized that, hey, once this Quaquaval is done, like, my back's just sweep. So just getting Quaquaval to this low of HP means that backs will sweep. Turn 7, I was also thinking potentially Quaquaval could be the switch in here, although it's going to take a lot of damage. Again, this team is also very fire weak, so great bring by the Sin City Sableye. Reflect, knock off, Leafeon, protect. This is all okay, but yeah, I think the only play here would have been, you already wished with Leafeon, so I think your only play is to wish and then go hard in the Quaquaval, get the wish up, and then you guarantee live 1 Icicle Spear, and then you have to CC. Even before, like, you lived 1 Icicle Spear, but then you didn't go for CC. I don't know what the other moves were, but CC has to be a move on this because you need something to hit with Baxcalibur, obviously. So yeah, overall Bax is very powerful going into this matchup. I believe you had a lot of common weaknesses to Ice and Fire, so you have to prep well with Scarfs or such to prevent sweeps or make some free agency trades. So in terms of, I really never say this, but I really think, especially after going over draft review, Florida Flamigos, I will say they have to make free agency trades to fix up a lot of weaknesses on their team. They have a lot of duplicate typings, like 3 or 4 grass Pokemon, like 3 water Pokemon. It's, you know, unfortunately, I feel like this team is probably going to be getting punished every single week because it's got so many weaknesses that can be exploited. I do really think that they need to make a lot of trades. There's a doc that I think I list below and everyone in these videos that can be really helpful for deciding what team members you might want. Obviously, I went over the draft review of what typings work well together: Fire, Water, Grass Core, Steel Fairy, Dragon. Obviously, you need hazard removal, etc., etc. Because I feel like the Florida Flamigos, as much as I want to root for them, I feel like they're probably gonna keep getting punished every single week because this team has a lot of major weaknesses. So that is just my official thoughts. I hope that didn't come off as too mean or too rude, but I do really think that this team needs some changes because on paper it looks, you know, kind of like a pushover for most teams that can just kind of blunt force their way through the scene, because it's very like offensively minded, but also there's some like weird defensive variables. But I mean, even this matchup, I mean, three ice types that just, you know, died to Icicle Spear once Cloth is gone. I mean, obviously Bax is probably even running Earthquake or Scale Shot, but I mean, nothing resists the stabs of, you know, everything is shooting neutral. Icicle Spear, Scale Shot. There's also nothing here to prevent screens from coming up. And yeah, ultimately, I mean, Bax is a scary mon. This is just proof that Bax, you know, can set up and sweep very, very easily. But yeah. Without further ado, let's move on to the next one. All right, next up we have the Glamorgan Vale Great Tusks with the team roster in the top right versus the Mojave Cacturnes in the bottom right. I also forgot to mention, like at the very beginning of this video, there are obviously all of our content creators for both Kalos and Unova are down in the description below. Obviously we have the Tottenham Hoothoots. I think that was like one of the first people that I posted about. He also has, you know, him going over his battle and his team builder, so make sure to check that out, as well as the Glamorgan Vale Great Tusk, also another content creator for the Kalos division. His YouTube channel will be in the below as well. He has team builders as well as the battle, and he talks about his battles and such. It's a really good watch. I really hope that you guys do watch it. But the Glamorgan Vale Great Tusk decided to bring Lycanroc, Dust, Sandslash, Goodra Hisui, Salazzle, Iron Valiant, and Wigglytuff, as the Mojave Cacturnes grab Fortress, Articuno, Cresselia, Goldingo, Rabombi, and Houndstone. So let's watch this battle. We're going to see a lead Fortress into a lead Sandslash. Sandslash immediately going for that knockoff, takes away Fortress's Custap. Stealth Rock is going to come out and immediately switch into Salazzle as Salazzle takes rock damage, and then we see a switch into Rabombi. Salazzle is Black Sledge. Looks like it's going to be this very annoying sub Toxic set. Ooh, I just realized something that could have been scary that I didn't write down. Sorry, this is very important because I didn't write down in this notes, but it was it's definitely something that I need to write down. This is very important. Cresselia comes in onto the Salazzle's Flamethrower, obviously taking a decent chunk. 27% is quite a lot. Salazzle obviously going for this Toxic. You know, Toxic sub, really annoying. Cresselia is going to break down its sub with Psyshock. But we are going to see, you know, Salazzle do what it does best, which is just literally sub, Flamethrower, Toxic. I don't know if it has Protect. It hasn't showed Protect just yet. But obviously sub Toxic is very, very annoying. Rabambi trying to switch back in, potentially trying to take this thing on, but of course Moonblast is gonna be is 4 times resisted, meaning it's definitely not getting rid of that sub. I definitely think Cresselia just stays in there and takes all the psychic damage to just try to whittle this thing down. Rabambi is Focus Sash, but it's kind of a waste of a Rabambi and the Sash here. Fortunately, Salazzle will just take it down, and Salazzle also with this Black Sludge recovery is basically getting back more and more HP just for Cresselia to come back in. Of course, it's taking, you know, less toxic damage now, but you know, at the cost of you had to sack Rabambi. So Sand Slash coming in on the Psyshock. Goldingo actually trying to catch, I believe, just maybe a Rapid Spin. Makes the most sense to me, but great prediction for the Glamorgan Vale Great Tusk to go for knockoff, but also they were just kind of free to go for the knockoff there on Cresselia because they wanted to get rid of their leftovers. So ultimately for them, you know, getting rid of Stealth Rock and Sticky Web at the moment is not, you know, what they want. They definitely want to knock off the Cresselia to whittle that thing down. We're gonna see Shadow Ball only doing 31% to the Sand Slash. Turns out it was AB. Make sure you check out his team builder and the video. Earthquake is gonna take out Goldingo. Articuno comes in. Gudra Hasili comes in, takes the Stealth Rock damage and the Sticky Web. 22% to Gudra is actually quite a bit, but it's not going to be enough. Gudra is leftovers and actually shows a really cool curse set. So it's actually curse. We're going to see if it can actually 1v1 the Cresselia. Cresselia decides to go for Thunderwave. Gudra Hisui just deciding to stay and protect, get back some leftovers as well as scout to see what this Cresselia has. As they go hard into Sand Slash, worried about a Thunderwave. Which they do catch and they are immune to, so now Sand Slash can go for a knockoff here, another free knockoff, as Cresselia goes for a Tera Fairy, does not pick off the KO, and a knockoff onto the Cresselia will definitely start to whittle this thing down more and more. It is going to die the next turn to Toxic, so they do decide to switch out as Gudra Hisui comes back in. Still hasn't showed its tech yet, so Gudra is going to curse again, as Fortress actually going for Earthquake. 35% after defense boost is insane. Like, what the hell? But actually shows Fire Punch. Doesn't even kill Fortress. That's insane. Gudra Hisui goes for Protect, trying to get back some of its HP. I do think they probably should have protected the previous turn, but they do end up sacking the Sand Slash. Good play there. Obviously, this Fortress is doing too much damage. Iron Valiant comes in. It is heavy duty boots, so they do go for Shadow Ball, pick up the Fortress. In comes Articuno. Out comes Gudra Hisui. He's going to take the rock damage as well as an Ice Beam, I assume. 22% or 20% this time, but Gudra will go for a Protect. Try to see if it can live the next one. I think it will be a roll because the last one was 22, so we'll see. Actually, a hard switch into Wigglytuff to take the Ice Beam. Activates its competitive because of the Sticky Web. 47% on the Wigglytuff is, whew, that is a lot of damage. We do see Wigglytuff go for a Protect here, so as long as there's no crazy rolls or crits, Wigglytuff is going to live. But we actually see a U-turn on the Articuno out to Cresselia. I think Cresselia is most likely trying to fish to Moonlight up here in face of the Wigglytuff, which, you know, the Mojave Cacturnes are allowed to do. Then they throw off a T-Wave, but they do unfortunately wish, as Wigglytuff is able to wish up and kind of stall out this Cresselia because it is badly toxic. So Wigglytuff in the end is winning this. Cresselia finally going down to toxic damage as it gets off a T-Wave. Articuno coming in, pressure's up, pressure. Ice Beam doing 46%, but of course we know this thing actually has Flamethrower, Moonblast, I think. Oh, Protect, Wish, Flamethrower. What's the final move? Probably Moonblast. But yeah, Wish, Protect. Obviously, as long as this Wigglytuff does not get paralyzed, it's totally fine to just chill in here and take out this Articuno. I do think actually, I mean, this Houndstone is... Wait. Could this Houndstone have potential to sweep if it's Scarfed in the end? Wait, hold on. Wait, if this Articuno... Okay, hold on. I just found another thing that I forgot. Wait, and then webs are up. Hold up. This is actually insane. So Wigglytuff dies to the Ice Beam. Lycanroc does come out, obviously gonna kill the Articuno with an Accelerock. Houndstone comes in, but what's the move here? I'm actually really interested. So it's actually Crunch. Okay, so it did outspeed. What's the move? Poltergeist is gonna pick off this KO. So obviously not showing Scarf. The Valiant is Heavy Duty Boots. Okay. So it was always a guaranteed win there. Okay, so Valiant is gonna come in, pick off the Heavy Duty Boots. I think if Houndstone was Scarf, it's actually kind of scary there. Yeah, that endgame looks really scary actually. Although you probably don't kill Valiant because it has decent defense. And it already showed Heavy Duty Boots. Okay, so I think it was safe, but whew, that endgame with Houndstone actually looked kind of scary if it was Scarf, because he held it in the back like it might have been Scarf, or they held it in the back like it might have been Scarf. So, but yeah, GG to the Glamorgan Vale Great Tusks. 3-0 victory against the Mojave Cacturnes. Obviously have some notes for this fight. So, I think I saw one early on that I didn't even realize. For this switch in here, so Salazzle stays in on the sticky web, but I wrote this down because I didn't realize it at the beginning. This is actually kind of scary for Salazzle here because Rabombi's, it's very common in OU for Rabombi's to run Psychic for to other poison types in terms of the Rabombi lead. So if this thing actually had Psychic, I think the Salazzle just gets smoked. Because obviously this Rabombi is faster, and I think it just one-shots this Salazzle. Because Salazzle is pretty weak, actually. Definitely, especially defensively. I think if this Rabombi was Psychic, it actually would have just smoked the Salazzle. So, ended up working out for the Glamorgan Vale Great Tusk, but I think this was actually a lot scarier than it seemed. Because Sticky Web is like okay for this matchup. Obviously, it's really good for Gold Dingo. Maybe even Houndstone. I do wish Houndstone actually came out a lot more in this match because it is Choice Band, which can put in a lot of work. But obviously Wigglytuff is in the back. So, but yeah, I think this was actually a lot scarier for the Great Tusk than they thought of. Potentially Psychic there. I think just one-shots them. Flamethrower here. Toxic. All this is fine. Yeah, I also think for all of this, as I said before, like during the game, they switch on to Rabombi, which is definitely not the play because you ultimately sack Rabombi. You don't even get rid of Salazzle's sub. I definitely think you want to try to get rid of Salazzle's sub with Cresselia. Even if you don't want to be because again, you only took 12% there. So you can still like continue to break this thing sub until you want to switch again. And potentially you could just like go Houndstone. And then start throwing some hits off like that, because this thing effectively, you know, it doesn't have Heavy Duty Boots. So once you get it to low enough where it dies to rocks, or at least below 50%, so like whenever you break the sub, you know, if they ever switch out, they can never sub again unless they get multiple turns of Black Sludge. So I do think going hard Rabombi here was definitely not the play because you don't even break the sub. It's not even worth getting the Sticky Web off. I mean, the Sticky Web off early is fine. But yeah, just going hard Rabombi here. Awesome. Love ads. Fuck my life. I definitely think potentially just going into anything but Rabombi so that you can break the sub also works. Turn 11. Great prediction, but also knockoff was just very normal there to go forward with Sandslash because, you know, you do want to get rid of the leftovers. Turn 22. EQ from Fortress actually put in a lot of work, as I talked about during the battle, which is actually insane. I think it was actually like somewhat of an offensive Fortress set, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Pretty close match. Glamorgan made some really good reads. I think the sub Salazzle dance, or sub toxic moves on the Salazzle was insane, but also like an easy tech for that is actually Lunar Dance Cresselia. You still get the 25% health off, and then you actually get rid of the toxic. So I think Lunar Dance actually 1v1s and beats the Salazzle. I was surprised that Cresselia didn't bring it, because I know the Mojave Cacturnes had brought it in the past. Or maybe it's not 25% with Lunar Dance. I think it might be 33. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I was surprised that they didn't bring that, because that was something that they had talked about last season, about why they were bringing it. So yeah, I also think I liked how they waited to Tera Fairy closer to the end, because obviously you want to keep the Psychic so you're not weak to Salazzle's hits. I think Houndstone also coming out earlier could have been really beneficial, as it threatens things out and can obviously live at least one hit, especially from Salazzle. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this week. I do appreciate you guys being patient with me. Again, all the criticisms that I make for this entire video are not meant to be personal. They're just strictly meant to be positive feedback or something that these players can work on. But again, like, I'm not even perfect. I'm losing matches in Unova. Spoilers. Check out my week 1. Check out my week 2. That will be soon to come out this weekend. But, you know, I'm nowhere near perfect. I'm just trying to make some general observations. But yeah, that's going to be it for today's video. It's going to be a long one, I know. I will try, either me or Klefkis are going to do week 2, I promise. I already reached out to him. We're going to figure out who's going to do week 2. I might probably just end up doing it, and I'll try to get it out super early, probably like Monday. We'll see. But yeah, if you did enjoy, if you do want to stay tuned for the PBO, for all the content creators and all that, make sure you check out the description. Make sure that you subscribe and like to this channel so you don't miss out on any PBO content. I will be also putting the Unova Conference week 1s in the description below as well, so make sure you check that out too. But yeah, PBO, a lot of fun, and I'm gonna get the heck out of here because my voice is running out. But yeah, thanks for watching. Peace.